Halloween 2 has Michael Myers stalking Laurie Strode on the same Halloween night. So, the positives on this film are it's actually a very cool sequel where it picks up right after the first movie. You can watch Halloween, then watch Halloween 2, and you wouldn't miss a beat whatsoever. It flows very well, and I don't know too many sequels that flows so nicely. And just about every other sequel, they always pick up a while after the events of the first movie. This one takes place within the same night, so I can't think of really any other movie that does that. So it's actually a really interesting thing for a sequel. I think Michael Myers is a good performance in the movie by Dick Warlock. He does pretty well with it. Nick Castle portrayed him in the original. He does awesome as Michael Myers in the original movie. So Dick Warlock is a pretty good performance, a pretty good follow-up for The Shape. I think the hospital setting is pretty creepy. It's a bit cliche, but I think it's one of the first horror movies in a hospital. I really can't think of anything else before Halloween 2 that really takes place in a hospital. I know The Exorcist 3 does, and I'm sure there's tons of others that I can't think of, but I mean, like, it's kind of a cliche setting for a horror movie, but the hospital setting is kind of creepy in Halloween 2. One thing I actually think that this movie improves on the original is the kills. That was actually in my negatives in the original. This movie actually has some pretty good kills. Nurse Karen being drowned / scalded in the hot tub, that's pretty good. Ben Tramer being burned is pretty surprising, and that's pretty good. And Nurse Jill being stabbed with a scalpel is pretty good, so I really like that. A few other kills that are actually pretty decent, so most of the kills really aren't that bloody, but I mean, like, for a slasher, it's good to have enough kills in the movie instead of just 4. And they are stabbings and slicings, so they are slasher-type kills. So I like that. So that's it for positives. On to the negatives. Kind of like Friday the 13th Part 2. It recaps the first movie. It's a little boring for the first 5 minutes, but at least this was 3 years after the original and not 1 year after the original, like Friday the 13th Part 2. This was actually inspired by the original Friday the 13th to be a much more gore-filled horror movie, and Friday the 13th was actually inspired by Halloween. So that's kind of interesting. Another negative is it's a little weird to have Michael Myers fixated on Laurie Strode. It really doesn't make it that scary for Michael Myers to have a motive. The sibling angle, that's not really that great. He's actually much more effectively scary when he has no motive at all. I honestly think this movie is kind of boring for most of the runtime. That's because it's trying to be just a typical slasher, and that's kind of boring. And the last negative is, I don't like it that Laurie Strode is pretty much stuck in a hospital bed and just walking around for the second half of the movie. Again, that's pretty boring, because Laurie Strode actually effectively fought Michael Myers in the original Halloween, and she actually had an effective chase. Here, she's not really that good, so it's kind of boring. So that's it for negatives. In the end, this movie is fine. It's certainly a downgrade from the original Halloween, but I don't think any other movie in this franchise is really gonna top the original Halloween. I'm gonna have to keep watching the franchise. There's a few movies that I've only seen once. There's a few movies that I actually have never seen. Actually, I think it might only be one. I think it's only one, which it's Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think that's the only one that I have not previously watched before doing this review series. So, Halloween 2, it's okay, but certainly inferior to the original Halloween. That's my review on Halloween 2. Thanks for watching.